Hey everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider, and I am thrilled to be with everyone involved in the Blackening. I have to ask you guys, how much are you? The film is premiering. I want to start with congratulations on the movie.
Thanks.
I know it's gonna play so well tonight. What is it like for you guys? Because it's premiering tonight, world premiere. What is it like leading up to a world premiere like this, where really no one has seen it, or very few people have seen it, but you know you have something?
It's exhilarating. It felt like magic when we made the movie, and we know that tonight everyone's going to feel that magic for sure.
Oh, I'm looking for more answers.
I mean, I'll jump in. I've known from, like, I think the second they started shooting, just because this cast is magical and they have so much chemistry, and I was laughing just my ass off watching them shoot it. I knew it was, like, gonna be an incredible experience, so I'm just ready for it. I'm ready. I've seen the cut. They haven't actually seen it. So I know something that they don't know. It's a crowd pleaser. It's amazing. I can't wait.
Wait, so I've seen it and you guys
And
have
we
not?
haven't. And we've been doing press for it.
Huffed
We have
and
not
puffed in
seen it.
ADR. They were like extra running. So I'm like, so I saw when I ran, and I thought that was good. I think I ran well.
We have no idea what
but
made
I don't.
it in.
I don't
We have
know
no
anything
idea
else.
what didn't. We have no idea.
And I've seen a cut, but not this one. So
Well, I got news for you. It's real good.
You heard your first first.
No, but I mean, like, listen, I can also say that TIFF knows what they're doing when they schedule, and the fact that you're the Saturday night, I believe, midnight movie. They put it in the, they know when they play something on a Saturday night at that time, they have something.
Okay.
Listen, most people watching this will have not seen the movie yet. So how have you been describing the film to friends and family?
I've been describing it as like, black friends go to a cabin and they getting murdered and whatnot. So, and then they gotta try not to, and the fun that comes with, trying not to die.
One of the things that I thought was so well done about the film is I felt like each character had their own individuality, and like everyone had like that dimensional, like I just felt like these are real people who've known each other a long time. I believe it's 10 years since you saw each other at college.
Yeah.
And so I might have seen the movie. But that's something that I really bought into. And can you sort of talk about making each character feel like they're an individual when you only have so much runtime, if you will?
That's a testament to how wonderfully written it was, written by Tracy and Dewayne, because these characters were fully fleshed out. They jumped off of the page. And then Tim just gave us the freedom to be exactly who we were, exactly how we saw these characters, and just go for it. And it was so nice that he fostered that beautiful environment for us to just kind of collaborate and do what we do best and have a really great time. And it was just so much fun. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think that it was easy to play these characters, as Antoinette said, because I knew who they were. I knew it so clearly. And then I'm an improviser, and I come from sketch comedy and a late night writing background. So I had jokes, not just for myself, but for everybody else. And everybody was like, welcome to that. Like, we were always encouraged to pitch, which doesn't happen with every director or collaborator. And I love that there were moments where, like, we needed more nuance, and having a writer who's starring in the film, and he could add like, oh, that really doesn't subvert expectations. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. So I think that was really like our lucky charm that we had, having Dewayne in it, who also wrote it.
And I do think writing it from jump, the intent was to take tropes and then expand them to force the audience to realize that tropes are also human beings. So like my character is a gay best friend, which is a trope that are in movies. They're the gay best friend, and usually they're regulated to the side to be like a person that gives humor, or they're like part of the joke. So being able to like take these tropes and then find exactly what makes them complex, what gives them depth, and then forcing that into the movie so that when you start watching it, you see what has been in horror movies before. And then the goal of the movie is to constantly break down your assumptions of these characters by constantly forcing depth, so that is the examination of blackness, is the characters, so that we don't have to talk about it. We can just be it.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll add. I mean, I think what was so brilliant about Dwayne's original short was that you just had this very diverse group of Black people within one friend circle. And I think what happens, at least because we grew up like loving horror movies, and the joke was like the Black people always die first. And there's always like one or two. And so it was kind of like, well, we get to do a horror movie where everybody's Black, like all of the leads are. And so when you get an opportunity to do that, you're like, wow, we can actually do a really diverse group of people and kind of dissect it while also using comedy and humor and just a lot of like scares. So, I mean, I thought it was just a really cool opportunity to do it. And I've never seen a horror movie done like this. And I'll say this for me and Dewayne, we love Scream. That I found out that Kevin Williamson is like doing something at TIFF right now
Sick.
too. I found that out.
I've seen it. It's called Sick.
Sick, yeah. And that's just like I don't know. It feels like fateful for us because that was something that we talked about a lot. And like to me, that was like the movie that did such a great job of being like meta and also having like horror and comedy and stuff. And so now we get to do it in our own way. And I just thought it was like just really cool.
He's coming in studio, I think, tomorrow, so I'll pass on that he should see your movie.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, I can make that happen. I have to know for you guys, what was it like seeing the board game for the first time in that room? And the design of that board game.
I remember
Triggered.
we were all like, what the fuck? Like, oh, like this is really an imagery that evokes a certain kind of feeling. And I feel like because of the movie, to take that and then kind of place so much humor around it kind of like takes the air out of it while still giving the space to be like, we didn't make this. Like, this is not an image that was created by Black people.
Right.
But this is an image that we can take and repurpose for what we want it to be. So that was kind of like a powerful symbolism to me. It's kind of taking what was used as like bad and then repurposing it to make a beautiful, perfect movie.
Triggered.
Yeah.
Triggered. Yes.
Yeah, we were
Triggered.
triggered. And I was like, oh, I'm
Those reactions were 100% real.
real. Like we saw
Did they
it.
purposely not show it
They
to you?
didn't
till
show
We
you-
you
never
it.
saw it.
We didn't see it.
We didn't see it
that
till it was
like-
time.
Those were real reactions.
Yeah.
Like real time.
When you take the box off the top, it really was like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is this?
it was. It was. And I think there's nothing scarier than for Black people. Like there's nothing scarier than that. Like I could see Candyman, It, but you put that face in front of me, baby, I'm running.
You just put
I'm
a,
running.
a little bit of racism. Terrifying. Terrifying.
I obviously will not going to go specific at all with this, but talk a little bit about figuring out who the villain ultimately is going to be in a film like this, and how much debate went on deciding ultimately where is the third act going to go.
I remember we talked a lot about
Yes, we
it. 'Cause we were
did.
like, what are we, like, what do
Yeah.
we ultimately want to say with what we're doing?
Yep.
And I'm happy to where we landed, but there was some very deep, extensive conversations as to like our purpose, because we are very intentional with all the things that we've done. And I think what it turned out to be is a statement that I think speaks to the conversation that we were trying to say with the whole movie, is just speaking to Blackness and how it is specific to each person and like what that means to a person on their journey of existence.
And on some level that it's a social construct, and that like we always force people to define what it is, and we're kind of like challenging people's Blackness like left and right. And the movie does that, but then ends in a different way. And I will say the thing that Dewayne and I debated, it's hard to kind of say without revealing the end, but we didn't want to do the obvious thing. And I think that might be clear when people see it, but there's an obvious like villain, and we were like, let's subvert that and do something unexpected. And that's something that we deliberately wanted to do.
I'm always curious when you're filming anything, there's always going to be maybe a day or two that you circle on the calendar, like there's going to be a tough shooting day, or this is going to be whatever it may be, like a challenge. So for each of you, what was the day of the shoot that like the night before you were really in your head?
Oh, you've seen the movie, so I'm sure you know exactly what day it was for me. I had a lot of words to say, had a lot of feelings about something, and so I was kind of terrified that I wouldn't be able to go where I needed to go to harness the kind of feeling that I needed to harness. But it was pretty great because Tim was just like, you know what? We're just gonna turn on the camera, and when you're ready, let's just go. And it was just take your beat. We're already rolling. It's not like, I just want you, once you feel it, go for it. And I went for it, but I was terrified because it's a lot. I don't ever express myself in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I can say that. But yeah.
For me, definitely the lake. And I think I can say the lake. That's not really a spoiler. But Shanika is in the lake, and it was 4:30 a.m. and we have been there since 4 p.m. And like the first week of shooting, we were all the three light skins actually were in the.
That was on purpose.
I love that. That was by design.
Yeah, no, that was by design. Dewayne put the three light skins first week of shooting, night shoots, 4 p.m., cute 6 a.m. every day. And it was cold. It was cold. So yeah, I would say that day was really hard. But what I'm so grateful for is for Melvin and Grace, who I was accompanied with during that section of shooting, because they were so sweet. They constantly checked on me. It was like my first night shoot, and this is like my biggest role to date, which I'm very grateful for Dewayne and Tracy and Tim for that. So I was just so happy just to be on set, and although it was difficult, having people that you really fucking like, I mean, you really got to have that, because like this is a horror comedy, so it's like we're running and then we're laughing, we run, tell a joke, it's nighttime, where you go, oh my god, what are you doing, that'll kill it, scream. It was like
so much screaming and running.
it was so much screaming. We were like, oh my god, we keep screaming. It was like, yeah, it's a horror. Yeah, so you really need people that you really fuck with. Like we were having noodle time. There's a time we kept eating cup of noodles, and it was like late at night, and we kept doing that. We kept calling out HR just randomly, and it was
I forgot about that running bit.
we kept doing a running bit. Dewayne would be like, X, oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm like, I'm calling HR. You can't be tired. But yeah, I think you really need that level of chemistry, and I think it showed on screen. I think everybody's gonna see that for sure. Yeah.
I would say my hardest day was the first day, because I just didn't know what to expect. And because of my position as like writer and actor, I was very conscious of like, oh, my emotions like kind of have to be a certain way in this dynamic, because like I'm thinking about like the greater picture. And I was like, what if I go on set the first day and all these actors have trash ass energy? Like, what if it's just like not like a good vibe? Like, what if like that's something I'm very conscious of, just like as a human, just like, what if the vibe is wrong? And on day one, the vibe was so right. I had my first scene with Antoinette and Grace, and they were both like, why don't you seem happy? And I was like, I'm just like regulating my feelings. And then they were like, be happy, take pictures. And then they just really like forced me to like come out of myself and just like love the experience for what it was. And it really shifted everything to be like, oh, like this is not something this is something that I have to like live in this moment and really take it for what it is. I've never written and started a movie. Like this is a literal dream of mine. Like, oh, like live in this. And they really pushed me into that and then made it worth it. Like they just really made this like a core memory in my mind forever. So
our first moment together, I was like, hey, that's Tim's story right there. This is your shit.
This is a video. Truly.
That's exactly how the video is. If you see it, I'm like, come on, we gotta hype it up.
And I'm truly sitting there like, and then they're like, come on, do something. I'm like, I don't know.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it really started the film in the best way. There was just so much love that I really shows through the ensemble, and that's what I really hope people see is that like, oh, this group of people enjoyed making this movie together.
Well, I think it shows on screen. Were you on set at all? Did you get?
I was, yeah, and I it was magical watching it, and then we were just cracking up. I mean, they were, I don't know, I just
No, yeah, we don't know either.
It was just so much silliness, and when you put like so many comedic people in one room, and then the script is already insane, so it just. I just saw the love, I saw the chemistry, and you see it on screen like you're saying, and that's part of why I think it works is because I buy that you guys are friends. Yeah. Like,
except with Melvin, like hate him.
Yeah.
We don't like Melvin. Let me cut the camera. We don't like you, Melvin.
In the group chat,
don't like
thank
Melvin.
you very much. Everybody. No one was left out.
But that's one of the things that when I was watching is that I really did think you guys were really friends, and it's like a very funny movie that's also a horror movie. You know what I mean? So talk a little bit about that aspect of knowing when do you know when you've gotten it in terms of like as an actor when you're delivering a line like, oh, I got it, like this works, or are you always relying on, like, if you could talk a little bit about that, or is Tim always saying to you like, or you know you got it because you're moving on?
You want to know what I noticed on set? The more freedom that we all felt, the more everyone just kind of let go. And once we all let go, we started bouncing off of each other in a way that you couldn't even anticipate. So like you can think of the ways that a line might sound like oh wow, this would kind of be funny when I read it out loud, but when we're in a room together and then Shanika says one thing and I'm like, but and then we kind of like play with each other in a way that was just kind of really beautiful. And it's like it was kind of cohesive for people who didn't know each other too. It was kind of wild. Like we just met and just vibed instantly. So shout out Leah Daniels and Tim Story for casting.
Yeah, I think the first day that we got together, immediately Grace, so competitive, but we love. She was like, let's play spades. And we were like supposed to do blocking. And then when Tim was like, okay, guys, we have to do blocking, we were like, what? We like immediately sat down and were just like bits, like burn, burn, burn. And like just like the best of friends, and then forgot like, oh yeah, we're here to do a job. Yeah, this is not just playtime. Like they're paying us to do something. So it happened like quite quick and quite immediately. But for me, I know I felt comfortable and I knew I had it once Tim said, X, it's time to move on. That's when I knew that it was good. And there was a very important scene with all of us that was very emotional. And Jermaine Fowler is so sweet. He saw me walking away with my head down after we wrapped because I really felt like I didn't have it. And he texted me and we like voice noted all night, and he like reassured me about my performance because it was on my coverage. And I learned so much that day, but I'm just so grateful that I was affirmed constantly by the cast and the director.
Yeah, I would say Tim was really my guiding light, because I think because of the positions that I've had, I really try to be intentional with like being an actor. I'm going to like do my job, like act, try to make this as real and organic as possible. And then Tim gonna let me know if that's good or not, because I know that there's aspects to this that are not in my control, like focus, sound. I'm like, oh, this is like a job. And so I'm just going to do what I do and then trust him that like he's leading me in the direction that we should go in. And so when Tim said, you got it, I said, okay, I got it. Let's move on.
But it's like everyone knew that it was so special that we all wanted to give our best. And so when you have people who are constantly hard on themselves, trying to put forth their best at work, you kind of, at least, I can't speak for everyone else, but like when we're in a moment together and we're all like we've relaxed into the moment and we're all just like feeding off of each other moment to moment, it feels so right and it feels like magic. So when he says moving on, you're like, yeah, I felt that. I did feel like, that felt like magic.
This is a little bit more of a real question. I'm curious. I feel like that Hollywood over the last few years, last 5 years, there's been better examples of representation, and more voices have been being able to tell their story. For you guys, do you feel that way, or I mean, how do you see the industry and how things have gone the last few years?
Well, I was like, I can speak to a lot of that. I would say for my life, there was a clear difference between pre-Girls Trip and post-Girls Trip for me. And the pre-Girls Trip life was, we've never seen this work before. Black women are niche. We've never like seen them actually have mainstream success. And when I would reference like The Hangover, it would be like, okay, but those are men. And then if you say Bridesmaids, okay, but those are white women. And so everyone's telling me this can't work. This can't be mainstream. It can't make money. And so when Girls Trip, like with 4 black women, made $150 million, everyone was like, oh my God, it can work. So then all of a sudden I could go pitch things like The Blackening or go, and honestly, when I called Dewayne about doing The Blackening, it was the same year Girls Trip came out. And I don't think I would have been able to like help him sell this movie the year prior. I just knew I had a window. And so I literally took it out with Dewayne and we sold it like within months of Girls Trip coming out, because I knew I have like momentum and I have a halo in this moment. And honestly, that's how blackness works in this business, is that you're only as good as your last hit. And that hit has to be like within a year. And so at that point I was like, okay, we gotta move. And that's just how it's been. So I've seen I would say like a lot of changes in the last few years, but it's all dependent on like Jordan Peele breaking out with Get Out. You just have to have different people breaking out and proving that these things are marketable and that there's a place for it. Without that, you're fighting an uphill battle. So I would say Girls Trip and like Get Out contributed to the Blackening even getting made.
What I will say is that my frustration comes within the industry of giving us positions and not power. So for things like Girls Trip and for Get Out to come out, like it takes a non-Black to say like, yes, this is good, this is great, this will do well. But if you have us in power and not in just positions as studio execs, as people that are making these choices for marketing, because it's not just Girls Trip coming out, right? It's not just Harlem coming out. It's that fucking marketing rollout, right? It's those pop-up installations. It's that for your consideration panel. Like we need support from production to fruition to marketing. So I do not see that enough for Black creatives. I feel like they pick their 5, at one time. And I feel like we don't get enough equity and access to take risks, to create at such a high scale of a level like a Girls Trip, like the Blackening. And I feel like somebody like Tim Story, I just feel like he is like one of the few and he is top tier. And we were so blessed to have him be a part of that, but he's just one, right? Like we need more programs. We need more directors. We need more Tracy Olivers. And I feel like we're out there and we have those stories. We're not given the opportunity.
I definitely feel the difference. I feel like a lot of creatives, people of color, Black people specifically, have decided to stay true to their vision of representation of the characters that they're creating. Like, well, listen, this is a Black girl. She wears a bonnet when she goes to sleep. Like, we're going to depict this in mainstream media because for a very long time, we've all kind of watched the One Tree Hills and stuff like that. And I don't know what it's like to live in Minnesota and have these experiences, but I identified with the experience because it was a human experience. And so this generation, we're feeling a lot of people not be presentationally Black, but show us in our full essence. All of these characters are fully fleshed out, multidimensional, and you're seeing different hues of Blackness and not just being painted with one brush stroke. So I feel the difference for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's difference, but I do think that the bar for Black people is exceptionally high. Like Tim's movies have made over $1 billion. Girl Trips made 150. Like these are stats that Black people have to work.
Yeah.
Period.
Star Wars numbers.
Like,
like what?
And the fact that like these opportunities are limited to the artists that have to prove themselves in that way already eliminates so many other people from doing it. So I think that like that, first of all, that's fucked. And then like as like a queer Black man, that is not a representation that I see. So even if the change is happening personally, not quick enough, it's not happening to me personally. Like I feel like there needs to be a greater push and the implications of knowing who is telling these stories, how they get to tell these stories, and the gates that are stopping them from telling those stories, and then busting those shits down. Because clearly, mathematically, it's not working. Like, yeah, there's change, but it's too small. Make it quick. The world's ending.
Dewayne, you're a queer Black man, and you had to write a movie
to be a queer Black man in a movie.
Well, I will say that a lot of people, and I'm not, I want to be careful as I say this, but a lot of people in Hollywood end up writing their own project to get into the door, because that's the way that so many people have broken through, is to because otherwise the door is not open.
Yeah.
It's but look, I will say that I have seen many movies like this, but I have never seen this movie, if this makes any sense, with the Blackening. Like, and I'm really, really happy that it was made, and it's really good. And I know that it's gonna play great tonight. Like, I'm sure. I see a lot of movies. I'm very confident. And obviously, I wish you guys nothing but the best. And if you can't tell, we're ending the interview because I need to rush to a movie.
Okay.
And
I
I really want to say it. Congratulations. And I hope it's a huge hit for you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow.
Me
We
too.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
you.